All right, Athar, hello, and great to have you on this webinar today.
Hey, Mark. Thanks. Yeah.
And for those of you dialing in, so Athar has joined us at Nodero. He is our data and AI lead and has a really interesting background, really practical and really interesting mix of both research and commercial. So thought it would be great to have a conversation with him, understand some of where he's come from, what he's seeing in the industry, and hopefully it's a few good sort of questions and thought-provoking sort of tips about how to engage with data and AI, especially around important data, sensitive data, and governance around that. So I thought, Athar, maybe if you could start with what's your background? What led you to get into the industry? Yeah.
Yeah. If we go in the reverse chronological order, for the last 2 years, I was working for an organization which deals with Maori data and Maori data sovereignty. So, in that space, we worked on projects related to data. Before that, I was working in the academic sector as a researcher and a lecturer, and there again my area was heavily focused on specific area called handwriting recognition and general data. Also, before that, I was in the industry working as a software engineer in software quality assurance and software development. So it's a mix of academic research and industrial experience, pretty much equal in both aspects. Main reason for me going into data, or to be more clear, I think mainly moving from a software engineering background to a more data and AI space would be when after doing my engineering, I started working in the software industry, and I felt like there's a need for understanding the human aspects. And that was, I think, that was my main pull towards data, because with data, uh, I feel we can understand a lot about the people for whom we are trying to build all of these solutions. So that was my main pull, understanding why the people using the technology. So during my master's, I moved into that space and I did different sorts of analysis, statistical analysis and all, which I learned there, and then moved on to aspects of natural language processing. Did some interesting and cool projects on like understanding user reviews for a pretty large company, and not just understanding but understanding the written reviews. So that involved let's say basic semantic analysis, but also thematic analysis and all. That was my initial days of making me, and then since then I have been attached to it. My PhD was in computer science, human computer interaction, again in this space. So I've been since then linked to this data and AI space, because I think, for me, it's very important to understand how a person relates to technology, and the using data and AI, I think it helps me understand better. Yeah.
Right, like there's obviously lots to jump into there, but I guess one thing I've observed as we were hiring for your role, in fact, and working with other organisations, is that a lot of applicants come from that very research oriented space, which is obvious. It's a complex, very technical area, and there's a lot of data scientists applying for AI engineering roles, as well as people coming, I guess, from a software development. What do you think people who have primarily an academic background. What are some of the things you've noticed as you've moved into industry, or you were in industry before you went back to study? What do you think are some of the things, the gotchas, or the maybe the real strengths for people looking to hire that having that sort of deep research background can also bring?
I think having a mix of background has helped me. Like, for example, let's go back to my teaching days then. Okay, so before that, before I went into became a lecturer and a researcher, I had already worked for several years as a software engineer. So, but when coming to teaching, I could give real life examples and connect it. So, so I think what the industry brings pragmatism. It brings how you can actually apply those theories, and the research or the academic background gives you rigor, the scientific rigor. So let's say we are developing a product, I can put on different hats and have my hat of a scientist and apply those rigors. Let's say you're training a model or whatever, or doing some deep statistical analysis. So you can put that rigor, but then you also have the other hat where you think of the practical approach or the time frames or the time boxed projects, and you understand that in real life or in real projects, if we try to achieve over perfection, or it's not applicable. Like in research, yeah, we do projects for the sake of doing projects for improving or addition to the knowledge. In the industry, I felt like, okay, a project needs to be done to serve a certain purpose, a need that the client needs fulfilled. So it's a balance, and which I think in an area like AI and data science, where you need good technical knowledge, but yeah, it is easy to keep on improving your algorithm or model, and there's no end to it. You can just keep on improving and training, retraining, keep increasing your the population size on which the algorithm is trained, or your corpus. But the putting on my industrial hat, it tells me, okay, stop at this point. It's good enough for this purpose. Maybe in the next iteration we can improve, and we should improve. But yeah, so it gives a balance.
Yeah, and I guess yeah, speaking into that, like the tooling and like our knowledge of how to use AI and how to best approach it is changing so rapidly also, right? So I guess there is a point where there's it doesn't make sense to just keep squeezing the last few drops out of a model when in 6 months things
True.
might have changed anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, it's changing so fast. Like, even let's say even before ChatGPT became a thing out in the public, uh, things were going fast. Like, we had jokes like every month there's a new JavaScript, every week there's a new library which you can use. But now it's at another pace. So yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, if you spend too much time on a model or some algorithm, and then after 3 months you're like, oh, there's another one, because everyone has got into this. People all over the world are working. So yeah, there's you need to be very pragmatic on how you approach your solution.
Sure. I'd like to jump a little bit now into, I guess the kind of experience you've had, especially, in your former role. You were in a health organization. You were working with New Zealand, health information, so very sensitive. And I think there's a number of organizations that, some are already right in there, very mature or experimenting, but others just don't know where to start. They feel like maybe the data is so important, the risks are so high that they really can't sort of figure out those initial steps, how to have both the innovation and the risk management at the same time. So I guess if you could talk into your experience with that. I think you've sort of taken organizations through that space, and it'll be really good to hear your thoughts on how you've approached it.
Yeah, I mean, this whole area of health related data, or in general even any data that deals with different government organizations, it has a lot of personally identifiable information and very sensitive information that uh, comes through in the data. And then I think from the perspective of the organization that owns this kind of data, I think their fears is genuine. Like, it's important to think, and it's because you have all this, you're like the custodian of this data, so you need to be sensitive about it and you need to be sensible about it. But at the same point, we know that this change is happening in the other areas. The AI is coming in, it's not just coming, it's there, and it's pushing things forward, and things are moving fast. And from like, what we would do is ease people into this thing. So there are different regulations that the solution that we build can be pegged to. There are certain, let's say, there's the HIPAA, which is related to the health-related data. There's the health information privacy code over here, which tells you how to deal with the different kind of data. And also then, not so long ago, the algorithm charter of Aotearoa was developed, to which a lot of the government organizations, I am probably sure most of them are signatories, and which helps different organizations who are already in the AI journey or who want to go, they can assess it. So we used such tools provided by, let's say, algorithm charter to assess how the risk and how the likelihood of risk is there with these algorithms. But the main thing that I understood while doing such projects is communication and clarity. How you need to be upfront, like, okay, these are the kind of data flowing through from the data that we'll share, and then what will be. Do we need the PII? Some do. In some cases, let's say for certain level, let's say at the CEO level, or certain higher management level, they do need to see, or it's a case manager handling the cases of these people. So they do need to see the PII, because that's how they'll get in touch with them and work with these people. So but then not everyone needs to see the PII. So then in terms of technical solution, there are different aspects. We have the role-based access available. We have something which we call tagging and masking. So let's say we pull in data which has all personal notes. So in the health sector, or in a lot of these government bodies, you have notes where you can you can see a lot of data there. It's more data than in the actual columns. So with the help of tagging and masking, we can, when the raw data comes in, we can tag and mask them. So what happens is, as the data moves forward in the pipeline, it will only be visible to whom we want it to be visible. Like, even at the programmers level, not all programmers, not all developers need to see the PII information. So and that too can be controlled. Let's say a central algorithm, or a person, let's say a manager, someone can control how much the developer sees. So at the technical level, it is not difficult to implement ways to keep the PII safe. And also we had situation where a certain government body had asked that every data in your database needs to be cleaned every 3 months. So basically complete wipe off. So all that stuff again is technically very possible, and we did implement them. So depending on what was the need of the or what were the regulations, basically what do the regulations say, and we translated them into the technical code or technical the data pipelines, basically. So yeah, the main thing, communication, being upfront about it, being clear, like how the data will proceed, and converting all this technical jargon into easy to understand, because the people that you will deal with are not all technical people, they might not understand it, but yeah, they will understand if you just translate that whole algorithm into simple English. So that's what we did. We just put it out into let's say things like data management plan or product management plan. These were key artifacts which we use, and these are, and this has the technical jargon is there in the appendix, but the main simple English language communication is there up front, so that at any level, let's say business analyst, someone without a technical background can understand it. The other thing which we did was like to make them familiar, to do some workshopping sessions to explain to them very clearly how the data will move across the different environments. And I think this really helped, like making it clear, making it in simple, plain English language, making sure that the solution that we technically build complies with these different regulatory requirements, because every body, every government organization has their different requirements which we need to adhere to. So choosing the solution that fits the requirements, the governance requirements, and that's the way we went forward.
So it sounds to me like a lot of these challenges, which might feel like large, they're solved problems, or there's paths. You mentioned that there's government, obviously regulations, but also advisory around how to approach data. There's tools for scrubbing and masking and tagging. So a lot of these things, I think people just need to have a bit of research, or maybe get some outside help into helping them understand what can help them take the easy path, rather than feeling like they have to do everything from scratch. I guess what we're seeing with clients as well, and it'll be interesting to hear your take on it, is you don't need to get all of your governance done completely before you start doing low risk activities. There's that level of maturity where things need to be set at the appropriate level. And it's different for organizations. It's easy to say something like meeting transcriptions, but if you're especially in government, OIA and Official Information Act might make that not a no-brainer. That might be something you have to be very careful about. But there are generally lower risk, not public-facing activities that you can consider as you go down this journey. Did you find that there were certain activities as organizations started which were more suitable for that sort of beginner stage of the AI journey?
I mean, true. I mean, like all of these regulations and government guidelines do not need to be in place at the start for some organization to start on their journey. Like it depends. Like it can be even as simple as just introducing their kaimahi, the people, the workers, to Copilot or some sort of a safe way to interact with AI. And then we did have projects where basically we just introduced them to how to use Copilot and in a safe manner. So again, because it depends who your target is. Like if it's just someone who is really new and just wants to use AI for general purpose, then that's easier to start. Or even let's say we had projects in which we just needed to use the stats data, the census data, which is publicly available data. So there's no PII in it at all. So those are some low risk activities which we did. Like, okay, we have stats data, pretty straightforward, no problem at all. So it is possible, like to start with, and I think that's the way to go, to start with activities which are low risk, and then we move on to more into data and using data which has PII or let's say case notes and all. These are sensitive items. But yeah, we definitely can start with low risk activities. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not engaging with obviously data, but AI as well. It's not a zero risk activity, and I think that's the flip side, right? It's, as you mentioned, it's everywhere. It's becoming more and more. There's more of a demand, whether it's from government or executive boards, for it to be used, and so yeah, it's not really an option to just sort of completely push back anymore.
I mean, let's say, for example, let's say an organization, they just want to implement a safe way for their people to use something, a generative AI, a LLM kind of a thing, just for general purpose. So, Copilot, in a sense, with enterprise level data protection, is pretty good. It gives, and if we read into the documentation, it says we give you indemnity, we can support you in case you mess up. They say they'll support us in the legal matters also. So and then they also make it clear that our data is not used for training, which is a big thing. People are worried about, like, oh, my official data, is it being used for training the algorithm in public, which is not the case. So yeah, those are very the solutions are there, and it can be implemented, and I think that's how there's the direction where people are generally, or organizations are generally going.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Obviously you're working with both sensitive data, but also there was a lot of demographic data, a lot of iwi data, and I guess the diverse sort of New Zealand community. Did you find, what was your approach? I guess you're not tangata whenua, you are dealing a lot with iwi. How would you talk to, I guess, another organization that was needing to sort of look at that? What kind of approach do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, this became actually very interesting for me. I'm not Maori, and then I was working on and leading the data aspects of those projects, on which we have Maori data. So mainly, the thing for me was to just not understand the definition of Maori data sovereignty, but really understand it, like, from that it is about mana motu hake and rangatiratanga. It's about the sovereignty and the ownership of the data. So it's whoever is developing such solution, they really need to understand these concepts, and basically look at it or put them in their shoes and understand, okay, what is it they're so concerned about. And then you'll once you do some research, you'll understand, oh, okay, let's say we are using some any LLM or something. Then you can ask the question, how much of it has been trained on such data? Has it been trained on Maori data? And then you'll come to know, okay, well, not much training has been done. So and then the other approach is that which I adopted was basically communication and just talking to a person who understands the tikanga properly, an expert in that aspect. So on different projects, my role again was technical, but then the data that was coming through, and those are just don't think that the data is just data points. A lot of technical people, we tend to think overly technical, and we are just like, yeah, it's just data points, I'll just do this and that. But try to put the context in. So data without context, specifically in this area of the Maori data sovereignty area, or Maori data area, you need to apply context. So for example, we're doing some analysis and we looked at data and we're like, okay, the household income of Maoris in a certain area was way higher than the other demographics. Now, if I just write a report or do some training based on this, it won't give me an correct output, because then you need to understand why is that household income more. So then we looked at, okay, let's see the household size, like how many family members in this area are of an age who can work. So then we figured out, like, okay, per household, number of people who can work are more than in the other ethnicity. So it could be every person is just earning 10,000, and that'll make them, the 10 people, so they'll become 100,000. But there are more people in that household, and then let's say another demographic, there's just one person earning that much. So that makes a whole lot of difference. So and then we came across other data, very interesting ones regarding, let's say, poverty. So you can earn a lot, but then your outgoing is also so much that you're not really, you're still not doing well. So main thing basically, and then the other challenges for me was understanding a lot of the Maori concepts and Maori words, basically, I would say. So let's say we were doing thematic analysis using certain algorithms. And these very quickly I understood, like, oh, it doesn't really work, because these algorithms can't really. Let's just take the example of a project in which we did semantic analysis. So it just didn't understand the Maori words. We used different algorithms and tried, and yeah. And then I had to go and so again, me being non-Maori, I didn't understand a lot of the words, because a word can have different meaning in different contexts. So I had to ask to the Tikanga person, and help me make a dictionary of this in that context of the project. So we did that. Now we got the dictionary, then retrained, and then better results. So I think what like I understood is context is very important. Understanding the context of the project, understanding understanding your own shortcomings of, like, okay, you do not understand probably the whole thing, but then being open and being proactive and getting that information from a person, from someone who has the expertise. So and then translating all that to technical, but then also doing the other way. Once it's been translated to a, let's say, pipeline or whatever algorithm, they need to go and retranslate it for them to understand, this is what I have done, this is how it will work. So again, I think, being yeah, I think the main thing that actually worked for me is putting myself in their shoes and thinking from their perspective, like, okay, what is their worldview, or the term, the Maori worldview, understanding it from their end uh, was a key in implementing these projects. Yeah.
So it sounds like, like a real humility and also partnership, right?
Exactly.
You're working with, collectively, rather than sort of putting a solution on anyone in particular.
Exactly. Like in certain projects, we had to go and change even the name of, let's say, the different environments in the database. So they wanted it to be it to reflect their view of the data. So yeah, we worked with them, and then changed it to whatever the names they suggested. So yeah, it is partnership and working with them.
So we've seen, obviously we've talked a bit about governance, a bit about sort of starting off. If you're in an organization where it's, you've got this sort of high risk model, it feels that way. Obviously we've had this conversation now. Are there any other sort of, I guess, core areas or opportunities that you see for New Zealand public service and how to better use data, and I guess how we can approach data and AI issues?
I think one key thing could be focusing on the explainable AI part, or the human-centered explainable AI, specifically because, again, if we are looking at government data, or actually any organization which really wants to understand how those algorithms work and wants to build trust, if they're dealing with such products or such services, then they need to focus. For example, while at Massey, we're working on several projects with NZ QA. So a key thing is we discussed on a project about automated marking of essays. Now the key thing is you need a human oversight over the marking. Like, let's say when a human marks, someone can moderate it and say, okay, that's how you got 10 marks or 5 marks or so on. So, but when AI moderates it, we have the technical aspects in explainable AI. We have, let's say, a SHAP algorithm is one of the most popular ways of implementing. Explainable AI. But then the output that you get after you do a SHAP, you run a SHAP algorithm, is basically technical, and it tells you, okay, these were the data points or these were the factors which influenced the results. And when you look at it, it comes out in very complicated graphs, and we call it a beeswax graph, and it's pretty complicated and it's long. And then you can't give that to a person who, let's say, is a teacher and not someone who is in this space. So there comes our aspect of human-centered explainable AI. So all that mumbo jumbo that was generated by the graph, you need to translate it. So that's a big area. I think most organizations which deal with such data should work on and should start thinking about, because this area of AI, it has become very popular, but it's not as like everyone is doing LLMs, SSMs, or whatever a language model. That's the superstar of the AI right now. But then I think as we go forward and as the proliferation, as the number of AI systems increase, people will start to think, or they should think, if they're not already thinking, that why do we trust the certain algorithm? Why do we trust it? How do we trust it? How do we build the trust? So that trust part, in the next few years and for a long time to go, I think it'll play an important part. So yeah, I think that should be a key focus to work on.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I think we've covered heaps today, and yeah, been great talking with you. I think this is sort of very real, practical stuff, for organizations who are dealing with this stuff. Hopefully, it's given some people some things to think about and maybe start taking some steps. Yeah, but it's an exciting space, and we look forward to seeing where we go with it. So thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, it was good to share my experience, and hopefully we all move towards a more because the AI is going to increase. So I think the only way is to start trusting it and building the trust in such systems. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.